Let's get this straight. The Sunflower Showdown might be in the headlines, might get the headlines, but it shouldn't keep you up at night. The so called rivalry with Kansas, it's not close. And while everyone keeps talking about Jalon Daniels, let's talk about the real quarterback in this state, Avery Johnson, right here on Locked On Kansas State.
You are Locked On Kansas State, your daily podcast on the Kansas State Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Kansas State, your daily Kansas State Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Christian Rao, and thank you so much for making Locked On Kansas State your first listen every single day. Welcome back to my everydayers. We're going to dive into it. Today's episode, we're diving into why Kansas State should not fear this fake rivalry with the Jayhawks in 2025. We'll break down the truth about Jalon Daniels versus Avery Johnson. And I'm going to hit you with the 6 games that actually matter this season for K-State's Big 12 title push. We'll finish today's episode talking a little recruiting as well. Before we do so, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Drop us in the comments your thoughts in the YouTube comments below. Hit like and subscribe while you're there, getting close to 1,000 subscribers. But are you actually worried about Kansas this year, or do you see it as a guaranteed W for K-State? Let me know below. Sunflower Showdown, is it anything that you are either excited or worried about? I'd like to hear from you as always. And thank you again for being an everydayer. The fake rivalry. That's what I'm going to call it. It's a fake rivalry. K-State shouldn't fear Kansas, and I don't think they do. And for many reasons. First off, Kansas finished 5-7 last year. Let's get to the numbers here. 5-7, 4-5 in the Big 12. In 2024, missed a bowl game for the second time in 3 years. Where's the momentum? The momentum that I get to talk about, I don't think you get to hear that on Locked On Jayhawks. I don't think you get to hear that at all. They've lost 16, count them, 16 straight Sunflower Showdowns, including the 29-27 victory just last season. And that was a good game. Well, let's be honest, it was a closer game than most, especially closer games than most in Lawrence, right? Or excuse me, that one I think was in Manhattan, so didn't you have to worry about that? Yeah, I was in Manhattan. But once we get to Lawrence, which is happening this year, usually those games aren't close. Now, in 2023, it was kind of close, 31-27. But the year before that, the time before that in Lawrence, 35-10. The time before that in Lawrence, 38-10. The time before that in 2017 in Lawrence, 30-20. Oh, and then 2015 in Lawrence, 45-14. You see a pattern here? Sure, the last 2 games in the Sunflower Showdown that Kansas State won, of course, were close. 31-27, 29-27. But it's not going to be that close this season. This Kansas State team is so much better. And we talk about these 16 straight, count them, 16 straight Sunflower Showdown wins. I mean, the streak is even more impressive. It's even more, and I don't want to hear the fact that you have the all-time record. I mean, that's like New York Yankee fan talk, saying you got 27 rings. We don't care about the past. Recency bias is a much thing if you want to even talk about this potentially being a rivalry, right? They have beaten the Jayhawks every single time, all but 4 since 1992. Put that into perspective. November 1st, 2008 was the last time they beat K-State. Whatever You Like by T.I. was the number 1 song. Do you even know that song? Do you? It's a decent song. It's not bad. T.I.'s got some certified bops, okay? But no meaningful staff upgrades, no major recruiting jumps under Lance Leipold this coming season. Now, some people think that the recruiting class coming up for the Jayhawks this year is better. If you look at some industry rankings, they have them above Kansas State. I just don't buy it. I don't buy it yet. Maybe they do. They both missed out. We both missed out on a certain player that we're going to talk about here towards the end of this show. But overall, I still love the momentum that Kansas State has. I don't think Kansas has that. Kansas is the middle of the road in the Big 12. And then with football and the sport that actually matters and creates revenue for your program, for your university, they're just nowhere near what the Wildcats are. They lack depth. They haven't showed that they can handle K-State's physicality and pace, even in these closer games over the years. They just haven't. So this rivalry, and let me put it in quotations again for you, is only alive because of geography. It's the only reason. It's not because it's competitive. Kansas fans call it a rivalry, but rivalries require wins. And this is just another conference game for K-State. And it's one we expect to win. And we will win in 2025 to make it 17, count them, 17 straight times. It's going to happen. There are plenty of other games that I am worried about on the schedule. And none of them have talking about the Kansas Jayhawks. This is probably number 7 on my list for games I'm worried about. Number 7 on the schedule. That's it. There are 6 games, at least 6 games that I'm worried about more than this one. We'll get that to just a second, but I also want to talk about the fact that the disrespect for our quarterback, Avery Johnson, sometimes it goes national, but by no means should it be in state, because Avery Johnson is the best quarterback in the state of Kansas. I'll make sure to remind you right here on Locked On Kansas State right after this. But first, this episode of Locked On Kansas State is brought to you by Game Time. Have you ever decided the last minute that you want to head to the ballpark with friends and family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize that you want to be in the stands. Well, that's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, even invite a bigger group to come with you. And you don't have to get the Dippin' Dots in the plastic cup. You can upgrade for the Dippin' Dots in that little cool baseball cap because you've had the savings with Game Time. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, making it easier to browse the app for an exciting upcoming MLB game. I mean, I am really interested, and I said this last week as well. Anytime Paul Skeens is pitching, I'm locked in. I'm so locked in. There's a conversation about him potentially trying to shoot with this new scheme and style of him being a potential 30-game winner. We haven't seen that in quite some time, so bring it on. So Game Time, last-minute tickets, the zone deals, big savings. The best part about it is you can see the seat view right from the app before you buy, so you know exactly where you're going to be sitting. And it gets everything you want, and what it does is it takes the guesswork out of buying tickets, and that's what Game Time absolutely does. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. It doesn't matter if you're a 6-year quarterback or being the quarterback of the program for the second straight year, entering your third year like Avery Johnson is. He is the best quarterback in maybe not even just the state of Kansas, but I think the Big 12. I've gone out on record saying that he is a potential, if not a very strong contender, to be a dark horse candidate for the Heisman Trophy this year. And when I hear conversations, and I've heard these, and it's not just a social media conversation, I've heard them at bars, I've heard them at coffee shops. It's just wild. It's wild hearing them. That Jalon Daniels is a better quarterback than Avery Johnson. It shocks me that you would allow that to come out of your mouth, even if you were a Jayhawks fan. 6-year quarterback, okay, not going to take that away from him. He's played in the system for quite some time. And there was a lot of hype over him. Obviously, some injuries came in the way for Jalon Daniels. But in 2024, 2,400 yards, 14 touchdowns, 12 picks. Missed multiple games due to injuries. He had that knee surgery as well. Limited spring reps. So are you getting 100% Jalon Daniels? I don't think so. I don't think you are. And new scouting reports highlight that inconsistent deep ball accuracy. You talk about his deep ball accuracy. I saw a report that it was talking about 35.3%. And the deeper they were talking about his play, risky decisions into double coverage. Have you seen what Kansas State has done to their secondary this year? One, a secondary that was pretty good last year, made a couple NFL draft picks. But the transfer portal, what they brought in, what we saw from the young guys in the Rate Bowl, like Zason Rich and McIntosh, Jack Fabris, what we saw from them guys, I'm not worried about him potentially throwing the deep ball. I actually hope he does. That inconsistency sounds like there's going to be a couple interceptions in that game. That's what it sounds like for sure. Is he a game manager or is he an elite playmaker? That's what I want to know about Jalon Daniels. What would you category put him in under? What category? And if he's a game manager, is that enough? Now, when you make the definition of game manager, sometimes that's a really nice thing. You think of like players like Russell Wilson. When I think of like a game field general or game manager, he's the first one that comes to my mind. But I don't put Jalon Daniels in that same category. So if I'm saying game manager, it's not a top level manager. You're probably like entry level game manager, right? Like he's not clicking for me. And I'll be the first to tell you, a couple of years ago when he came in the Big 12 media days before these injuries, he had those chains. He was excited. You were talking about him being not only just a Big 12 player of the year favorite, but a Heisman Trophy favorite. When they had him, they had Bean as a quarterback as well. Kansas was riding high. There was a lot of really excitement of that program. I was also maybe drinking a little bit of the Kool-Aid, a little Jayhawk juice, if you will, thinking that there was going to be a potential to have this rivalry be renewed. But it just didn't pan out. And I don't think it's going to change in 2025. And the main reason I don't think it's going to change is because you beat them last year. And in my opinion, this offense is even better. And now you have not only just handing Avery Johnson the keys, he's read the owner's manual. He knows where the special buttons are. He knows how to set the cruise control. Like, he's good. He's got his favorite radio stations dialed in. His presets are good to go. And those presets might be new with some new running backs, new wide receivers, maybe another tight end in there as well. But this offense is going to be humming in Lawrence when they play in the Sunflower Showdown. Heisman capable. And that's what I've heard. I've heard that a couple other places as well. Like I said, I think he's a dark horse candidate. I think I heard the term Heisman capable by our friends over at the Big 12 Insiders. Love that show, by the way. Shout out to them. Consistent. He's dynamic. He's durable. He's and the durable word is something that you might even be like he's got it over Daniels, but he was banged up towards the end of the last season. And I think that what he's done with the strength and conditioning this year, we've seen some pictures. If you've gone on social media, go on the Kansas State football's Twitter page, even if you like look at pictures of other people working out, you got Avery Johnson in the background looking like a dang Viking. Like this kid's ready to play. He looks like he is 100% ready to go for football. And I just saw a couple interviews, couple people tagged me in them, and I really appreciate that. I made sure I shared them on the social medias, both on my personal account and on Locked On K-State, about Avery Johnson at the Manning camp, the passing camp. And you can just the way he speaks this year compared to what we heard from him all last season, it's different. It feels different. And it's a very good way how it feels different. Would you agree with that? I think so. I can't help but to think that something special from Avery Johnson is going to just fall in our laps in 2025 for us K-State fans. I really do feel that. I think Matt Wells is going to unlock him, and we might be talking about him being the guy that he turned into this NFL talent. And it's not going to be talking about the past, what he did with Jordan Love. Like, it's going to be what he did with Avery Johnson when we speak about Matt Wells' legacy in 10 years. Like, I can totally see that storyline, that lifespan, that what it will be in the future, because Avery Johnson has what it takes. Well, Kansas hopes Jalon Daniels can stay healthy, and I do too. I don't ever want to see players not get healthy. I want to see what every team hopes is their best, because I want Kansas State to go out there and beat that best team. So there's no doubt that Kansas State is the best team in the Big 12 and in the state of Kansas. But while they hope Jalon Daniels stays healthy, K-State knows Avery Johnson is healthy, dynamic, and the best quarterback in the state heading in 2025. I don't think there is a single doubt in my mind, and nor should there be in anyone else's. Not one bit. I want to hear what your thoughts are there. Avery Johnson versus Jalon Daniels. Is it even close? Is it even close? And give me some more examples. Give me some more reasons in the comment description why Avery is better than that Jayhawks quarterback. I want to hear it from you. Next, I'm going to tell you about the 6 other games other than Kansas. It's just a complete slander of the Jayhawks episode. 6 other games why you should actually worry about, what you should actually worry about other than that Sunflower Showdown. We'll do that next right here on Locked On Kansas State. Look, the Kansas State schedule might be tougher than you expect. It might be, but Kansas Jayhawks, it's not one of them that I'm worried about. I think there are 6 other games at least. And for the record, this is an at least list because there could be one more that could probably squeak into this conversation that matter more than the Kansas Jayhawks game, that matter more than when we're going to get the 17th straight victory against Little Brother. Like that's what's going to happen. And I'll even rank them for you in the 6 that I think. And just for the sake of this conversation, I'll give them a little pat on the back, Jayhawks, and say, yeah, you're 7th. You're the 7th most important game on Kansas State's schedule. Hang the banner. Number 1, I'm going to go with Baylor. And I've said this a few times this offseason. I think Baylor is the scariest game on the schedule for Kansas State. You go on the road in Waco. They got an explosive offense, strong offensive line. They're a conference competitor. I do think that that's a tough one. I think that's going to be a tough matchup. Okay. That's where I got them at number 1. And I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Number 2, I'm going with Farmageddon. I think we can take care of Iowa State in Dublin, but it's week 0. It is the first game of the college football season. Everybody's going to be watching. If you lose the first game of the season, that is tough. And I think whoever loses that game between Kansas State and Iowa State, they're going to have a tough time finding themselves back, building themselves back up to be a Big 12 contender. Now, do I think it's possible? Absolutely. But I don't want to be that team that has to do that. So I'm going to put that at number 2. Iowa State's got a gritty defense. Again, a top Big 12 competitor, rivalry intensity as well. That is an actual rivalry for the fact. Farmageddon is an actual rivalry because that one goes back and forth. So give me Iowa State at 2. At 3, I'm going with Texas Tech here. And maybe I'm overhyping them, or maybe the world is overhyping Texas Tech. I don't know. I'm going to have a conversation here in the next week or so with our good buddy Chris Level over at Locked On Texas Tech. We're going to do some chatting over there. That'll be on the episode feeds here in the future. But they've done a lot of spending. They've done a lot of spending. It cannot be ignored. They're a top-ranked transfer class. They've done gun recruiting. They've loaded offense. And Lubbock is a trap, right? So now I don't think you got to play in Lubbock, right? They got to come to Manhattan. So that's good. That's a good thing. And I think for the flip side, if I remember correctly, I'm going to ask Chris this question. They hate playing in Manhattan. Manhattan's like bad news for them. So maybe that's a good thing. Maybe I should drop them a little lower on the list. But something to keep in mind. I got Texas Tech at 3. Some people think Texas Tech is going to win the whole dang thing for the Big 12 this year. I'm not that high on them, but who knows? Number 4 and 5 and 6 is something I mentioned on a recent episode about some potential trap games towards the end of the season. And I'm going to go with number 4 here. I'm going with the Utah Utes. You got a brand new offense coming here. Whittingham, obviously entering year 21. He's got a disciplined defense. I don't think they're going to be as bad as they were last year. I just can't see them being that bad 2 years in a row. I just can't see it happening. So I think Utah is going to be a tough matchup. It's on the road. It's the last road game of the season. Kansas State could be beaten up. I don't think they're going to be overlooking Utah by any means, but I think that is going to be a tough game. And Kansas State always has a tough time playing in Utah, period. And I think that's any sport, not just football. I mean, last season with the basketball team, I mean, that's when the wheels fell off for them. Whatever was left of hope for the basketball team when they went on that Utah trip and lost to both BYU and Utah. But in the mindset of the football team, when I think of this road trip with Utah towards the end of it, that's a tough one. There's a potential trap game, and I mentioned more about it in a episode just a few days ago. Actually, it might have just been recently, so check that out on the feed. And number 5, I'm going to go with Colorado. The final game of the season. This is Coach Prime's rebuild, right? No Shedeur, no Travis Hunter, 26 new transfers. But the reason I think this could potentially be one of the toughest games on the schedule, the 5th toughest, if you will, is because I think there's a possibility that in week 12, when Colorado comes to Manhattan for the final game of the season, Colorado could be 5-6 and looking for that bowl eligibility game. That's where I see Colorado potentially being if they have a setback trying to find out their new identity without Shedeur and Travis, and Dion without his son at quarterback for the first time since when? I mean, he coached him in high school, coached him at Jackson State, coached him in Colorado. This is a new look for him. So 6-6 could be a good year, a successful year if you're Colorado. But are they 5-6 when they head to Manhattan? That's why I have them at number 5. And then number 6, kind of like the Utah story here. And Kansas, if you're taking this, if Kansas fans, you're taking this one as a disrespect, I hope you do. Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State was 0-9 in the Big 12 last year, but I think they're going to be much better. Now, overall record, will they be better than Kansas? I don't think so. But where they are in the schedule, the fact that it's Gundy's potential, it's his reset year, if you will. Well, what they said with all the donors and everything that happened, Oklahoma State could be playing with everything to lose. And there could be a potential where they're fighting for their chance at bowl eligibility that early towards the end of the season, if you will, with a couple games to go. They might be fighting for a spot where they have to win out, and it starts at Kansas State. It also could mean if Kansas State wins that game, it could be the last game that Mike Gundy ever coaches for Oklahoma State. Because I don't think if a coach gets fired this year in the Big 12, because there are a few other coaches on the hot seat. Chris Klieman is not one of them. Don't worry about that. But I think if I'll go make a bold take right here. There will be at least one Big 12 coach fired this year mid-season. At least one. And it could be Mike Gundy. None of these athletic directors are going to wait. In this new era of transfer portal and NIL and booster money and just trying to get everything going as soon as possible, you don't have time to wait. You got to get things going right away. You got to get on the recruiting trail. You got to make sure you save some of these players from leaving and heading to the portal. You got to do everything possible. You don't wait till the end of the season and then say, hey, good luck, take care. Even if it is a legendary coach like Mike Gundy, who's a man who's 40, right? Even if that is the case. So I'm not saying it's going to be him. He's a potential one. There's a couple others as well. Brent Brennan from Arizona is one that comes to mind as well. If Baylor underperforms, David Randa, potentially. I don't see that one, but potentially. There's a few. But definitely Mike Gundy is on there. These 6 games will define K-State's season. Not a mid-tier Kansas team pretending that the Sunflower Showdown is the biggest game of the year. That's going to be their biggest game of the year. Kansas' Super Bowl will be the Sunflower Showdown. And unfortunately, they're going to lose the Sunflower Showdown for the 17th time. It's going to happen. I just can't see it any other way. Let's end this show with a little bit of unfortunate news, and I'm sure you've heard this one as well, but K-State and Kansas as well missed out on Ian Premer, in-state tight end, the best recruit according to multiple industries in the state of Kansas. Top tight end, number 1 in Kansas, number 43 nationally in the class of 2026. Actually chose Notre Dame over K-State, Kansas, Iowa State, and still technically Michigan. 6'5", 220 guy. I mean, elite athletic traits, top recruit, multi-sport star, top tight end, and target locally. This is a guy that's going to be missed. Obviously, it stings a little bit. This one does hurt, but at the same time, it doesn't, right? I'm not going to go out here and and slander him for not picking K-State. I'm not going to do that. And I don't care if it's him taking more NIL. Good power to you if that's the case. I'm not going to determine a kid's life. That's not where I'm going for. But in the grand scheme of things, would it have been awesome to have him on the team? Absolutely. Like I could picture Kieran Premer in a couple seasons from now being a top 2 tight ends on the team. That would have been fantastic. But that's just not the world we're going to live in. And that's why I think it hurts, but at the same time, it doesn't. Because the recruiting momentum for Kansas State, although it's stalled, they still have a hot 2026 class. This might have been potentially their crown jewel, but I still like where they're going. The state pride, yes, that stung. Losing a blue chip, Kansas product, Notre Dame. But hey, KU also missed. And he didn't go to the Big 12 and stay in the conference and go to Iowa State. He went to a program that is prestigious. He went to another great program that was just in the national championship game. Winning matters. And for the record, folks, we've gone 8-4 the last 2 years. Started 7-1. It was a great start. But when those wheels fell off, it was hard to build that momentum up. Now, I've been an advocate on this show over the past 6 months, letting you know that momentum is continuing to rise. And just because Ian Premer chose another spot, it doesn't mean that we completely fell down the roller coaster. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that at all. Maybe consider that one of the loopy-loops in the roller coaster. Because I don't think that you have to call this 2026 class a complete loss. I don't think you need to do that whatsoever. There are plenty other 4-stars still about to make some decisions. There's a couple potential 5-stars still in the mix as well. And, I think they pivoted fast. I think that they went after a couple 3-star recruits. They doubled down on some other, talking about some offers for some 2027 guys. So to me, the takeaway is one recruit isn't a season. The offense is stacked. And you also got to remember that this is going to be for the future of the season as well. This year is the main focus, and you got returning talent, and you got a great incoming portal class. You got Terrence Enos, you got JB Nelson coming in from the offensive line. The offensive line is going to be so fun to watch. It's going to be so great to watch. Check out Friday's episode, the last Farmageddon Friday episode, where we talked offensive line. I don't even know where to put them all. There's so much. I think depth is going to be like the biggest strength of the offensive line this year. And when you're talking about some of those potential trap games we mentioned towards the end of the season, with Oklahoma State and Utah, that might come in handy big time. And, the message from the program is just keep building these state pipelines as well, improve the next class, stay aggressive in the portal. They've been really tough in Texas, which if you want to win the Big 12, you got to win in Texas. And they've been doing that. So just because you missed out on the number 1 guy in Kansas, something you didn't do last year, by the way, you got Lincoln Cure. I don't think that's a huge loss. Does it sting? Yes, because he's in your backyard. And the Irish came in and they played Rudy and they got him over to Notre Dame. That's exactly what happened. It must be. He must like Rudy. Do you like Rudy? I don't know. Anyways, every setback like this fuels momentum, though. And momentum is exactly what this team needs and is looking for as they head into Dublin for week 0. And the decision doesn't change this season's promise. And my prediction as well, that they are going to make it very far. Yes, it stings losing Ian Premer, top local tight end, okay? With Notre Dame. But K-State's recruiting machine keeps rolling, folks. The current roster is built to win now. Even with those last 2 seasons of 8-4, this roster, I think, is better than those last 2 years. And Coach Kleiman's staff is out there chasing that next high-profile target. So instead of dwelling, let's just use it as fuel. As us fans, let's just use it as fuel. And I don't know if I'm the odd man out here, and I might be. I might be the minority in this conversation, on this thought process. And maybe this is me being an old head as well. I don't even know. Like, am I in with the group here? Am I considered a youngin? I don't even know these days. But I don't even really think it's a big deal if you lose out on a 4-star or a 5-star. Like, that doesn't bug me too much. When I look at tape, when I look at highlight reels, like, yes, Ian Premer is great. Don't get me wrong. This isn't, a knock on Ian Premer. But I don't care about the 4s or the stars. I don't care about that. It's just some recruiting agency putting a number in a grade next to a player. And then when they go to a certain school, all of a sudden those grades get higher. When they go to an SEC school, a 4-star sometimes becomes a 5-star. I've seen that happen quite some time. It's very political. I am way more interested in fit over, I guess, stars. Stars measure potential, sure. If you want to say that they measure potential, got it. But they don't guarantee production or culture fit. They don't do that. Some of these blue chip kids expect immediate stardom as well because they got those stars next to their name, and then they struggle right away when they hit adversity. You can't have that in a team like Kansas State. You can't have that. Fit means getting hungry. That's what fit means. That they're ready to be a part of this team, a part of this community, part of this culture, coachable guys who will match K-State's development model. And that's something that is a superpower for K-State. They are a development superstar. Kansas State has a history of turning these 2-3-star players into NFL talent. So that's why I'm not worried about it. Look at Jordy Nelson. He was a walk-on, NFL Pro Bowler. He was awesome. Tyler Lockett was a 3-star guy. NFL star, still playing in the league. He's with Tennessee this year now, after being at Seattle for so many years. Deuce Vaughn, All-American. He was a 3-star. Dallas Cowboys running back. Chris Kleiman's system thrives on development, folks. Culture, team-first guys. And I'm not saying, again, this is not a knock on Ian Premer. All I'm saying is that I'm not worried about the stars. I'd rather have the fit. Retention is also easier when the fit is right. In this world where transfer portal, as soon as they don't like something, they leave. You want to find those right fit guys that are willing to face adversity, willing for it. And stars don't always translate to wins either. I'll just remind you of a couple years ago, Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher. He brought in plenty of 4 and 5 stars, and that just never worked out for him, did it? Meanwhile, teams like Kansas State and Iowa State often outperform their recruiting rankings. And that's once again what Kansas State's going to do with this 2025 recruiting class, which is one of their best recruiting classes in history, definitely under Chris Kleiman for sure, bringing in the program's top recruit in Lincoln Cure. And I still think that this 2026 class is humming, offensive line especially. We're seeing a recruiting superstar unfold before our eyes with offensive line coach Brian LePack, what he's doing. So don't be too worried about what's going on with the recruiting. Have some faith. You can't teach hunger. You can teach fit, though. And you can't replace a player who wants to bleed purple. Remember that. Stars might get the headlines, but fits win championships. And I think that's something that Coach Kleiman and the rest of his staff have done very, very well in their tenure. Something that was also very good before Kleiman as well under Coach Snyder. Let me know your thoughts in the comment description below. Love to hear from you. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. We are growing and growing every single day, all thanks to you. It's been a blast. So thank you so much for making Locked On Kansas State your first listen every single day. For your second listen, check out Drake Toll, Locked On Big 12, breaking down the conference. We're getting closer and closer to Big 12 Media Days, and we'll have you covered here every step of the way. Until then, please like the video, please subscribe, and we'll see you back here next time on Locked On Kansas State.